So you have one more week, and then we'll see you at school. I have time for a few questions. Yes, please introduce yourself. Yep.
Can you tell us how you feel about the additional National Guard troops coming from other states, West Virginia, South Carolina, Ohio? Do you feel that this has kind of usurped your authority even more, given the president's federalization efforts?
We don't have any authority over the D.C. Guard or any other guards, but I think it is kind of makes the point that this is not about D.C. crime. Any other questions? Yep.
Sam P.K. Collins, Washington Informer. Some pretty damning video came out this weekend. An organizer with Harry's Wildest Dreams detained by Metro Police. Given that school is coming up, what guarantee do you have to parents that their children will be safe in their interactions with police officers coming to and from school?
Well, we, as you know, rely on our metro system as our school transportation system. You also know that all of our children have a Kids Ride Free card. And so they have access to use the metro to get to and from school and to their after-school activities. So there should be no reason for a child to have a negative experience with Metro Transit or any other police related to fare evasion. And we continue to expect our children to behave in a good way, in a lawful way, and get to school and be ready to learn. We will, and I've reviewed those reports, and I'll continue to review them with MPD to see if there's something we need to follow up on. I'm sorry?
If I may follow up.
Sure.
All that notwithstanding, what guarantee do you have that MPD and law enforcement under your jurisdiction will do their job in just standing within the bounds of the law as it relates to their engagement with young people?
How we interact with our police officers hasn't changed. They're always expected to follow the law and engage in constitutional policing. Our residents continue to have the safeguards that we have in place in our law and our protocols, including body-worn camera, including the ability to make complaints to the Police Complaints Board. So no one is going to sit up here and guarantee that anything. What I can guarantee is that we have a framework of laws and protocols that support constitutional policing. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Jenny Gathright with the Washington Post. There's been video of ICE arrests, spreading all across social media, particularly one at 14th and R Northwest over the weekend, where ICE agents tackled a delivery driver and took him into custody. I guess, what's your reaction when you're seeing these videos in the city, how they're affecting people? And then a follow-up, given that the judge in the lawsuit has yet to officially rule on whether MPD will be forced to cooperate with ICE, what do you want MPD officers to be doing in the meantime as they're going around the city and potentially being asked to cooperate with these kinds of arrests?
So let me start. I don't want to comment on individual incidents because I won't have all of the details. I will say this, however, the focus should be on violent crime, and that's what has been promoted, that we're focusing on violent criminals and violent offenders and violence. And nobody is against focusing on driving down any level of violence. And so if this is really about immigration enforcement, I think the administration should make that plain. Yep.
Sorry, another question. You've talked a lot about how one of your goals is just steering the city to the other side of this administration with its home rule intact. Given the current situation, do you think the city's home rule is at risk, and how are you reflecting on this moment as it sort of seems like it's some of your concerns or potential concerns about this administration are starting to be realized?
I don't think my concerns are not new. All right, and I think anybody who has followed the rhetoric from the campaign throughout these attacks and the rhetoric around them is not new. Yep.
Muriel Carbone with DC News Now. I'm just wondering if you've had any conversations over the last week with your federal partners just about agents identifying themselves, having their faces covered. It's a concern we're hearing and seeing.
We have. I think I mentioned that last week about being very important to us that agents be identified. I did ask the chief to have further conversation about these masks. There's no reason for a law enforcement official to be masked.
Did she get any response on that?
I asked her to talk to it. I will continue to have to follow up. Yep.
Yeah, I'm Brad Bell with Channel 7. Couple questions.
Yep.
Some messaging coming from the administration, the White House today, saying that D.C. is being made safer, and they put out some arrest numbers and numbers of guns being seized. How would you characterize this operation? Has it made D.C. safer?
MPD takes guns off the street every day and every week. And anytime you have a surge of officers, I would expect that you have some results. I say repeatedly, we need 500 more officers in DC. With 500 more officers, get 500 more officers worth of results. And so what is not necessary, however, is this kind of commandeering of the attempted commandeering of the force itself, and the expanded, I think, work that is not related to violence.
So additionally, with this, the takeover,
What does that mean?
What coordination is there? There's this
Well, let me
military
correct
pull out
you.
there.
Let me correct you. There is no takeover. What there is a surge in federal law enforcement. And that surge in federal law enforcement necessarily has to coordinate with the Metropolitan Police Department under the leadership of Pamela Smith, the Chief of Police.
Are they coordinating to your satisfaction?
I think there's going to be work to be done, for sure. But, you know, there's work to be done. Yes.
We've heard that the National Guard may be shooting weapons to these soldiers.
That's a question for the Department of the Army.
Well, you must be concerned about that since they're not trained in law enforcement.
They can't do law enforcement as far as I know.
So that's got to be concerning to you that if they're armed.
That is not what I have been advised. And unless their orders have somehow changed, I don't know that they can engage in arrest. Yes.
If I can follow up.
Yes, sure.
Is there any coordination between your office and the White House, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel?
Yes.
But are you getting the answers to your questions, or is it not as clear as you would like it?
I think we're 7 or 8 days into this situation, and it evolves.
What does that mean?
It means just what I said.
It's evolving, or it evolves?
I'm not going to get into the difference in suffixes with you.
Mayor Bowser.
Oh, yes, it's changed from day to day. Let me put it that way. Hold on, excuse me.
Sort of on that note, on last Monday, you'd come out and said that while this was unsettling, that potentially this could be a productive partnership with law enforcement over 30 days. Has your approach or your strategy in dealing with the administration changed since that time in terms of whether this could be productive, or are there more concerns? And are there specific things you're watching that could present a risk to the DC community that would change that strategy further? Well,
let me just put it to you this way. I will engage our government in ensuring that we are following the law. Now, what you haven't heard me say any differently in the last 7 days is that the district will follow the law. When there have been changes or attempts to change that was outside of the law, that's why we challenged those changes in court. And as a result, those changes have been backed off from. And so our strategy will deal with the reality as it is presented.
even just to the second part of that question, even within the law, are there particular areas you're watching closely that if it could present a risk to your community that you would you would have to.
This is what we're watching closely. How can we be responsive in a way that is strategic and can be helpful? Another way to put it, how can we respond in a way that's strategic and averts harm? And I can't give you a laundry list, but I can assure you that very smart people who work across the government are working on that, and we are we're organizing ourselves in a way to deal with this incident response that is most efficient for DC government. But what I would caution everybody to think is, because you're all very logical, smart people, and you want all of this to make sense. This doesn't make sense. You know it doesn't make sense. The numbers on the ground in the district don't support 1,000 people from other states coming to Washington, D.C. You know that. We're in this beautiful school with children singing about to go to school in a beautifully renovated building with the most prepared teachers in the country. You know the facts on the ground don't support this. You know that. You know it couldn't be done in a neighboring state. You know that. This is not about something that fits into logic. So if you want to know what's happening, the question is really not for us. It's for why the military would be deployed in an American city to police Americans. That's the question. And it's not for me. Yes.
Mayor, the last message for community members who are obviously concerned with the heightened immigration enforcement, and they're going to be returning to school. We saw some of the previous threats that the administration made and schools gearing up, Mundo Verde, and now they're going to be walking to school and they're seeing people getting picked up. What's your message to those families as they're bracing for?
This is my message. I think as a nation, we need to demand comprehensive immigration reform. There needs to be a pathway to citizenship for hardworking people who have made this country their home. And we need to separate the discussion of enforcement against violent offenders and everyday hardworking people who have made this country their home. For us in DC, we have many immigrants who have lived here illegally because of TPS protections. This administration needs to make those TPS protections clear and stand behind them. We have many people who have immigrated to this country who have valid work permits and student visas. We need to make plain that they are not under attack. What needs to be made plain is what has been discussed for many, many months, is that violent offenders would be dealt with. That is what we have to focus on. So for people who are anxious and afraid, I'm sorry that this is happening, but the change that needs to happen is with comprehensive immigration reform and leadership at the national level. Yeah.
Two police officers were injured, I believe it was Saturday night, when they tried to tackle someone on an ATV. Do you believe that the Trump administration is trying to force the Metropolitan Police to adopt more aggressive tactics than they've had previously?
I'm not familiar with that case yet. I'll probably, if that's a MPD officer, I'll get briefed on it and or ask the chief if there were other officers that were involved.
Do you think they're being forced to adopt more aggressive tactics than they had before all this happened?
The standards that our police work under haven't changed. Okay. All right. You have the last question.
I know you've had, I'm Alan Etter from WTO.
Yes, good to see you.
Good to see you. I know you've had a chance to meet with the Attorney General. Have you had any direct interaction with the President? Do you want that? And what would you say to the President if you have that opportunity?
The President issued an executive order that names Pam Bondi his designee, and that's who I'll work with. Thank you, everybody.
In a recent press briefing, Mayor Muriel Bowser addressed various issues surrounding law enforcement, public safety, and immigration enforcement in Washington, D.C. The mayor began by discussing the additional National Guard troops sent from states like West Virginia, South Carolina, and Ohio, explaining that D.C. authorities have no jurisdiction over the D.C. Guard. She emphasized that the situation at hand is larger than just local crime, underlining the complexity of federal involvement in local policing. In response to questions about the safety of students as schools prepare to open, the mayor reassured parents that their children would be safe while using the metro system for transportation. She highlighted the importance of maintaining safe interactions between students and law enforcement, citing the use of body cameras and a robust complaints process that supports constitutional policing. Bowser also addressed concerns raised by a recent incident involving ICE arrests. She clarified that while she would not comment on the specifics, the city's focus should remain on addressing violent crime rather than enforcing immigration policies. She emphasized that the administration's role in immigration enforcement should be distinct from law enforcement's efforts to combat violence. When questioned about the potential risks to DC's home rule, the mayor acknowledged her ongoing concerns regarding federal overreach. She emphasized that her concerns were not new and have been consistent since the campaign rhetoric, especially given the administration's actions that she views as encroachments on the city's autonomy. A further point of discussion was the transparency of law enforcement officials. Bowser responded to concerns about federal agents hiding their identities during arrests, stating that it is crucial for law enforcement to be identifiable. She indicated that she had already spoken to the chief of police about the matter and would continue to follow up. As federal law enforcement surged in the city, the mayor clarified that there was no takeover of the police force, but rather a temporary increase in federal presence. She acknowledged that while coordination between the Metropolitan Police Department, MPD, and federal agencies was necessary, it was an evolving situation that still needed refinement. Bowser also called for comprehensive immigration reform, particularly addressing the need for a clear pathway to citizenship for hard-working immigrants, especially those with valid work or student permits. She assured that immigrants should not fear enforcement against them, but rather that the focus should be on violent offenders. When asked about her relationship with President Biden, the mayor stated that she had been working with the president's designated representative and would continue to engage with them in the future. Despite the ongoing challenges, she affirmed that D.C. would continue to follow the law and protect its residents. Throughout the briefing, the mayor underscored the need for collaboration and effective response to the evolving situation, all while maintaining a commitment to the rule of law and public safety in Washington, D.C.